It's been over a month since I recorded the last video because there was just not that much to talk about in the market. A lot of sideways chop happening, but I believe this is changing right now and we are seeing a very interesting dynamic. And this presentation I'm calling blow off top because I believe it is quite likely that we will see a short-term blow off top ahead within the next few days. And there are a few reasons why I believe this to be the case, because sentiment is extremely two-sided. I cannot recall another time when momentum guys were as happy as they are right now, and the momentum guys are, and this is very unusual, are the little guys, and they are printing money, they are kicking butt. And what is so awesome about this is that the big guys, the guys who should know better, the guys who pretend to understand fundamentals, they have been betting against this market pretty much since the lows, and they are getting run over. And it is this dynamic that is causing a lot of tension, and that is why I believe that we will get a violent reaction here pretty soon. What makes this particularly interesting is the price levels the market is at. And here we are looking at the S&P 500 future. And here on Memorial Day, we are just shy of 3,000 at 29.91. So I would assume there is a lot of smart money that has been betting against this rally. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there who thought there is no way that we would ever go above 3K in this fundamental environment. So I would assume that once we get above that, which none of those people saw coming, they will be forced to liquidate their short positions. So that is one very interesting point. Another interesting chart to look at is the NASDAQ. And here we are approaching these all-time highs here. And what I find very intriguing is that that 10K mark is not that far away. We are just 450 points, so some 5% away from 10K. So we are right at 10K in the S&P 500 and just 5% away from 10K in the NASDAQ. That in itself I find very interesting. So I would not be surprised if we take out this all-time high and try to test 10K in the NASDAQ, because that is where the action has been, and that is where all the momentum money has gone, into all the tech names. And that is also where the sentiment is overly bearish, right? That is in those tech names. And here I am borrowing a couple of charts from a sentiment trader. By the way, he's a great guy to follow on Twitter. His services are awesome. You can check it out on sentimenttrader.com. And here you can see what I've been talking about actually in a chart. And this blue graph here tells us the option activity that are of small size. So everything that is 10 contracts or lower. And we are looking at buying activity in calls and selling activity in puts, which is bullish in nature. And we are looking at it, or we are filtering for 10 contracts or lower, because we want to know what does the little guy think right now. And there is no big institution that would buy 10 contracts or fewer of those at a time. So we know everybody who is doing that is a little guy. So it's one of these Robin Hood. It's one of us pretty much, right? So we are the little guys in this game. And the little guys are getting very bullish. This is what this chart here is telling us. And that is what makes this so unusual, that we, the little guys, we have been right. And that is very interesting, because what happens when we have been right for too long. We get cocky, right? And so that is part of the dynamic why I believe this setup is very interesting. And then let's take a look at what is happening in the futures market. And this is also very interesting because futures is not necessarily where the little guy is playing, where the Robinhood account holder is playing. This is where the smart money is at home. And what are they doing? They keep on increasing their short positions in futures while the market has been rallying. And this chart here is a couple of weeks old, so I borrowed it from Sentiment Trader because he posted it on Twitter. So I'm pretty sure that this data has changed since, but it tells us the story that the smart money has been betting against this rally. And that is why this setup here, because we are at these very important inflection points in the S&P 500 and in the Nasdaq, why I believe it creates this very interesting dynamic. And the reasons behind it, I mean, everybody knows, right? We've been in lockdown, and the lockdown measures are being eased right now, which implies that businesses are beginning to open. And we are creating more and more tension. So it is building up, because this the momentum crowd has been right for weeks and weeks on end, and they are printing money, and they are very, very happy campers. But on the other side, the people who are supposed to know better how price behaves when the Fed is printing like they've never been before, when Congress is even handing out money left and right, not just to businesses but to people. They should know better that this is very bullish for stocks, but they have been fighting over it. And now we have created so much tension, and because we are at these critical points in these indices, something will break sooner or later. We don't know yet how is reality really gonna play out. Are we gonna get like this massive rally in GDP? I don't even know if GDP can rally, but you know what I'm trying to say is massive recovery. I do believe we will see some sort of a V. The question is just how crooked is the right leg of that V gonna look like? We don't know yet. We have to see. It will be determined in the future. But what I believe is likely to happen before we even get the result from the market, how everything pans out, we will get some sort of capitulation. And capitulation can go both ways. The little guy is such a happy camper right now because he has been right for weeks and weeks on end. So he's buying these little contracts, 10 of those at a time in pretty much any tech name, and has been right over and over. So we are getting very close for them to get euphoric. What do? They leverage up on top of it and they move all in. This game is so easy. Let's print more money. Let's become millionaires tomorrow. So this is what the little guy is thinking. The big guy has been wrong for a long time. And they never saw 3K in the S&P 500 coming. They thought it is pretty much impossible that we go above that. So when we do, which I believe we will see forced liquidation of the big guy, and that at the same time when the little guy is a happy camper ready to go all in on his bullish bets. What does that create? It creates a beautiful environment that we will see, that I believe that we will see first a move higher above 3K in the S&P 500, above the all-time highs in the Nasdaq, until we see capitulation, that the little guy is all in and the big guy says, I give up. I want to get rid of all my shorts. I'm liquidating my position. And then the real smart money comes in and it will short this spike higher. So what I believe we will get is the spike to the upside, where we see this capitulation from both of those teams here, and then the real smart guys who say, okay, thank you very much, we use that to go massively short. And then we see this wick in pretty much all these indices. At least I believe the odds that that pans out that way are pretty high right now. And this is how I plan to play it. I want to play the move to the upside by being long short-term calls in Tesla. And I've been a sucker for Tesla for a long time, since like 2011. I think Elon is awesome. I get annoyed when he goes all psycho on us, and when he texts or when he tweets stupid stuff at 2 or 3 in the morning. So there's a lot of things that I wish he wouldn't do. But how many of those guys are there on the planet who can get done what he has gotten done and what he will accomplish in his life? So I think we should appreciate his genius and tolerate his weaknesses, which he has many of. But I think his awesomeness outweighs his weaknesses, and I believe, and there are many reasons why I believe Tesla will kick butt in the future, and why I believe there's a lot of upside there still to be had. But that is too much for this video. So, but how I want to play this is I want to buy short-term calls in Tesla, and possibly on Tuesday already. I want to be long calls that expire either this week or the week thereafter. And I want to do that until, or I want to keep those guys until I see this capitulation, kind of like when price goes really vertical to the upside. I want to sell into that, and then I want to open up a position that goes up when price goes down. And so far I have not picked an individual name, so as of today I will play it via QQQ puts, because I want to short the Nasdaq, because that is where all the momentum traders have been. That is where the euphoria is. So that is where the pullback will be the hardest, if the theory that I outlined here, if that actually pans out. So then I want to flip-flop short and buy longer-ish term puts in the Qs. And what I mean by that is I don't want to go super short term the way I want to play the upside, because I think the upside is maybe a couple of days to the upside. I don't believe it is more than that. So I want to have very short term calls until I see like a vertical move to the upside. Then I want to get rid of the Tesla calls, and then I wait for weakness to show up, where I believe odds are good that the Qs will now make a 180 and go lower. And I want to have a little more time there for us to be right. That's why I want them still to be short term, but a little longer-ish term than the short term calls. So maybe 2 to 3 weeks out, something like that, because what happens when price reverses? Volatility will likely go up. So if we have a little more time on our hand, we might get some extra oomph from the implied volatility if price actually then turns lower. And that is why I want to give us a little more time. I don't want to get too cute on betting against this market, because it has been so strong. If you need help timing those trades, you can find more information about us on quantyeti.com. If you have questions for me personally, you can hit me up on StockTwits. My handle is @OptionBob.